Hi everyone, welcome to chemistry class. I am Shanu Sagar. I hope you watched my previous videos, that is part 1 and part 2. Uh, Today's class we are going to learn about the states of matter. So what is matter, students? Matter is a substance which anything substance or matter is a substance which occupies space and which have a mass and volume. Okay, before going to enter the class, before going to study the class, let us recall the definitions which I gave you in a previous class about diffusion and kinetic energy and matter, the mass, volume, everything. So here we'll learn about in detail about the states of matter. Matter around us exists in three forms, that is solid, liquid, gas, as we all know that. So, is there matter exists in our body also? Means the body constituents also contain the matter which are solid, liquid, gas? Yes. The bones and teeth which are there in our body, they are nothing but solids. The blood that flows in our veins is a liquid, and even we have a 70% weightage in our body in the form of water, that is a liquid, and the air that we breathe is nothing but a gas, oxygen maybe, or carbon dioxide. And next we are going to learn then what are these solids, liquid, gases, how the solid, liquid, gas we can classify. Solids can break easily, we know that, and liquids can flow like a milk or water, and gases which evaporates easily. So before going to learn in detail, we learn some important terms in this chapter. First one about rigidity. Then what is rigidity? The property of matter to maintain its shape on applying the force. Any substance which maintains its shape even on applying force, will call that as a rigidity, or even we may call it as a high density or a harder substance. Next is a fluidity. The property of matter to flow is nothing but fluidity. Fluidity means the water which will flows, and even blood flows from our body is nothing but it is a fluidity. And next one, compressibility. The property of matter to decrease its volume on applying pressure. Students, this is a very important definition and concept. Compressibility. We can compress any. Can we compress any substance easily? For example, I will give you a duster, or I will give you a stone. Can you compress it? No. Why? Because we cannot decrease its volume. For example, it seems to be that the water bottle which is there in our hand, if it is empty bottle, it seems to be compressed, but only the water volume of water level increases, and but we cannot compress it easily. Full water bottle we cannot compress, means uh, the volume will be if it decrease, we can say it as compressed. For example, sponge can be compressed easily, and even many substances are there which will compress easily, that we are going to learn detail. Next, mass. The amount of matter in an object is called mass. The amount of matter, whatever the amount of total matter present in that object will call as a mass. And volume, what is the volume? And the SI unit of mass is nothing but a kilogram or kg. The next volume is very important definition. The space occupied by an object is called volume. Once again I will repeat the definition. The space occupied by an object is called volume, and the SI unit of volume is meter cube, m3. Next, density. What is the density, students? Density is nothing but the mass per unit area. So about scientific definition of density is the mass per unit volume of a substance is called density. But density, if you want to understand, if the same given amount of space, if there are more particles, or the more particles, if you can add it, we can call it as a denser. Or else even in a very small distance, even a small uh, box, if we add more number of particles in it, we can call it as a more denser. And even same box, if we add a less number of particles, only two particles if it is there, it is less denser. I mean, the density depends upon the mass per unit volume of a substance. That's why scientific definition of density is the mass per unit volume of a substance is called density. As you know that even density depends upon the mass and volume both. So SI unit of density is mass per unit volume. So next we'll start the concept of solid. What is solid? It is defined as the form of matter which possesses rigidity. It is incompressible and hence has a definite shape and definite volume. This is just a definition of a solid. Any substance which possesses rigidity, hard, or if it is not going to compress easily, and which have a definite shape and definite volume. Keep in mind, very important term it is, which have definite shape and definite volume, we will call as a solid. Then what are the properties of solid? How can we know that which is a solid, which is a liquid, and which is a gas? The first point about the solid. Solids have definite shape, volume, and distinct boundaries. See here, the solids have a definite shape, volume, and distinct boundaries. Uh, what is this? Solids have definite shape, volume, and distinct boundaries. For example, if you take a sugar crystal, or if you take any boxes, for example, it is a box. All boxes, all wooden box, or any boxes, if you take, whether it can change its shape. No, it has definite shape, volume, and even it has some distinct boundaries, square or rectangular, any shape it may take. Due to small interparticle distances and strong interparticle forces of attraction, solids have a fixed shape, volume, and distinct boundaries. They do not change their shape when they are put in different containers. See here, example, if you say stone, wooden box, or any object, pen, notebook, pencil, everything, whatever you take, whether it will change its shape when you kept it in different containers? No, we not seen that. Pen, book, table, everything, wherever table, if you kept one room, another room, it will not change shape because it has already fixed shape. It has a fixed volume and the distinct boundaries. Then it is a first property. But here one problem we arise here. Even though sugar and salts are there, but it takes the shape of container. We know that if any substance which takes the shape of container, we will not call them as a solid. But can you call sugar as a solid or not? Sugar or salt? Yes. Even though the sugar and salt particles, which it takes the shape of container in which it is placed, it is also a solid because the shape of individual sugar or salt crystals remains fixed whether we take it on our hand or if you put it in a plate or in a jar. See, if you take a sugar crystal, if you take a sugar crystal in any place, the crystal of the sugar remains the same wherever you may take. That you can place it in a jar or you can place it in the plate or wherever. But if you add in sugar in a plate, it will take the shape of plate. A cup, it will take the shape of cup. It will take in a container. If you take the shape of any container, it takes. It doesn't mean that sugar is not a solid or salt is not a solid. Okay, it is an exception. Next, second property of solid is solids possess rigidity. As I told that rigidity definition, rigidity means the solids which have tendency to maintain shape when some outside force is applied. So until the outside force is applied, it will regain its original shape. So they may break when dropped or hammered. See, a glass, whenever you can say that if applied for outside force is applied, it may be in solid state. Even though if it breaks, it makes into pieces and many pieces, so still it is a solid. Any substance, even though if you dropped or hammered, it have a rigidity, means a tendency to maintain its shape in original place or original position. Why these maintains rigidity? Because however some solids may change their shape under the influence of a force but regain the same when force is withdrawn. For example, a rubber band. If you stretch a rubber band, um, we will get a change of shape. Solids usually will not change shape. For example, I told you about the stone or a table or whatever. Can it change the shape? No. But rubber band is an exceptional quality that it can be stretched on applying force. Can we so that can we not call that as a rubber band is a solid? No, we can. Even though if you stretch, if its shape changes, then also we'll call it rubber band as a solid only because when the force withdrawn, the rubber band regains its original shape. See here, when you stretch the rubber band and applying force, when the force is withdrawn, means when you remove the force, again the rubber band regain its original shape. It will regain its original shape. Therefore, rubber band is also considered as a solid. However, if excessive force is applied, the rubber band breaks. If you stretch more and more, then it breaks easily. Okay. The next, the third property of a solid. Solids have a definite volume. What is this? Due to small interparticle distances, solids cannot be compressed and hence they have a definite volume. Okay. If you take sugar crystals, sugar particles in a container, as I told you, it will not change its particles, it will not change its shape because they have definite volume. Due to small interparticle distances, solids cannot be compressed, hence they have a definite volume. We cannot compress. For example, if you take a pieces of few crystals of sugar in our hand, by compressing we cannot reduce its size. But there is an exception here also. Some solids we can reduce its size or even we can compress it. Example, sponge. Have you saw sponge, my dear students? Sponge is a solid which can be easily compressed because sponge has minute holes in which air is trapped. When we press it, the air is expelled out and the sponge we can compress easily. So apart from sponge, we cannot compress any solid substances. For example, stone, table, pen, book, notebook. Can you compress the notebook or pen? No, not possible, because where any substance, if it has a minute holes or pores, when you compress the sponge easily, the air will trapped in that holes and we can compress it easily. So that is an exceptional case for a solid. Sponge is also a solid because it can be compressed. Not any other kind of substances are solid which we can compress. Only sponge is a solid which can be compressed easily. And even because of this minute holes, very important concept point, the air is trapped inside and the air which is there in the sponge, which will expelled out. Because of that reason, we can compress it easily. Okay. Fourth point about the solid. Solids do not possess the property of diffusion. Very important point. Students, we learned in previous class about the diffusion. What is diffusion? I'll repeat the definition once again. Intermixing of particles of different types of matter on their own is called diffusion. When you mix the particles each other, we'll call it a diffusion. Sugar or water, if you want to dissolve, we can possibly dissolve. It will dissolve easily. But solids usually we cannot diffuse. For example, if I take a box, if I take a box, I cannot diffuse one box in another box. Why? Because they have already fixed shape. We cannot fix them with one another. We can add, if it is small we can add, but we cannot fix them in each other. We cannot diffuse them easily. So due to small interparticle distances and strong forces of attraction, the particles of solid do not move much from their mean positions or from their positions. So they only vibrate around their mean positions. In the solid substance, if you touch, it can only vibrate from their mean positions, and even it will not change its shape, and even we cannot diffuse the solid substances. Next point.